You know what they say, ask and you most definitely shall receive. After years and years of clamoring for a AAA Spider-Man title, Insomniac has boldly stepped in to answer our prayers.
Do your thing.
Yes! Hey, where are you going?
What's going on, you guys? My name is RBG and I'm bringing you my review of Marvel's Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. The bigwigs at Sony Interactive Entertainment kindly went out of their way to give me a review copy of the game, and I gotta admit, during my past few days of experience with it, I've been on a euphoric high. For those of you who've been following my journey of extensive coverage on this title, you know that I've been dying to play it. Like many, Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters in comic book lore, and he's been a pretty interesting commodity in the world of gaming. Over the years, we've seen the spandex-clad Crusader feature in a slew of game-related titles that have all come short of hitting their desired mark. All of them meant well, but they ultimately succumb to something that hinders a lot of titles: rust development. I still remember the developers for most of them, but not that many fans could see the little man behind the levers, because he was being run by an egregious publisher that didn't give him a chance to fully flesh out his projects. Thankfully, Marvel's Spider-Man didn't undergo the video game war of short deadlines. Sony has given Insomniac ample time to treat this licensed property like a brand new IP. You can tell that the critically acclaimed development team has made it their mission to revamp the perception of the franchise. And boy, is it breathtaking.
Man, I love this town. Time to grab a snapshot.
Just gonna put the Podogate conspiracies to rest by saying that this game looks absolutely beautiful. Everything from the various locations to the character models have been done exceptionally well. Like, I've been only playing the game in 1080p 30 frames per second, and I can hear my PS4 Pro yelling at me during the more chaotic moments. And this game is running off of a heavily modified version of the same engine that was used for Insomniac's earlier project, Sunset Overdrive. The visuals definitely do a fine job of aiding the game's narrative. Our adventure begins in Peter Parker's room as it gives the player a viscera of his life achievements as well as his shortcomings. He's been under the mask for 8 years and has become very experienced with his profession. He's more confident and masterful of his spider-like abilities than ever before. This introduction serves as an awesome tutorial giving you control of Spider-Man as he swings into action. The web swinging system has been meticulously crafted to give out that realistic feeling that you're actually latching on to concrete surfaces. There's a sense of weight behind every swing, and it goads the player to make the right move depending on the height and range of each building. Thankfully, the developers made it their mission to provide heavy emphasis on momentum. Many creative liberties were taken to make sure that the fluidity of swinging wouldn't be hindered by simple bumps or miscalculations. In doing so, various prompts appear over ledges. This allows the player to change the distance and height of their point-up launch by zipping to their desired target by pressing the L2 and R2 triggers, which is a brilliant addition because for the longest time you'd be discouraged to traverse smaller things like traffic lights. Almost anything can be launched off of. To gain even more momentum or play a game of Daredevil, you can perform a move called the tap dance. You do so by tapping the L3 button to dive. The velocity of Spider-Man will vary depending on how high he is while diving. This is yet another new feature that shows how much time and attention Insomniac has put into the web swinging. Certain animations look like they were inspired from the live-action movies, particularly The Amazing Spider-Man 2. By simply continuing to hold the swinging button, you can perform parkour on random objects as well as run on walls. There's also a trick-based system. By holding the circle and triangle buttons, you're able to pull off stylish flips. Moving the left analog in different directions enables you to create new tricks for a boost in experience points. Not gonna lie, I was hyped by this feature, but eventually found it lacking compared to the cult classic Spider-Man 2's trick system. Simply tricking for XP with a handful of moves starts to wear thin pretty fast. But hey, that's a minor gripe coming from a Spider-Man game enthusiast. The swinging's still the best you're gonna get out of any Spider-Man title. Every movement has a natural flow to them, and you feel like you're controlling a Spider-Man who's honed his skills. The city of New York has never looked better. This may be a controversial opinion, but the level of detail and variety in this game dares to challenge Grand Theft Auto 5's open sandbox experience. The various locations and landmarks all have their level of populations, some busy and some downright congested with civilians.
Give me 10.
You'll most likely find yourself in awe as you gaze at all the noticeable locations that look like they've been 3D scanned from the ground up. There are always things to do, and even though it may share a commonality with the GTA games, it's handled completely opposite of them. Since we're not completely bound to the laws of realism and you possess spider powers, there's no need to drive vehicles. And instead of listening to classic songs, you're provided with a call-in radio show featuring Spider-Man's #1 heckler, J. Jonah Jameson.
Let's refrain from unfounded speculation and focus on solid established fact. Spider-Man does not care if you live or die.
This is a creative feature because it's constantly updating you on your public perception. After certain missions, JJ will go out of his way to discredit your heroic deeds. Occasionally, New York locals will call in to pat the fires Jamison has thrown on your name.
Let's dive right into the calls. Speak.
Okay, so not for nothing, you gotta give Spider-Man respect for taking down Wilson Fisk, right? I mean, one less mob boss is good for everyone.
But some will join in on the bashing as they recollect some of their past experiences with you. Now, this has minimal bearing on the overall plot, but it does a good job of serving as a conducive host for the Big Apple, because some events are bigger than others and the city needs a voice to express how it feels after undergoing those said events. When it comes to the combat, the game really takes off. Upon first glimpse, you think that the gameplay aimlessly insinuates the Batman Arkham series style of combat. I mean, it's a pretty valid argument considering the fact that the Arkham franchise has changed the landscape of fighting in video games, and it's in a similar genre, but that's not really the case for Marvel Spider-Man. While it definitely has the same level of sophistication as the Arkham games, it feels nothing like them. You feel like a man who was bitten by a radioactive spider. You'll feel powerful yet agile as you perform different kicks and aerial punches to take out low-level baddies. The interesting thing to note about the combat is its huge focus on timing, and the evasion system is one of the primary tools you're going to need to come out on top. Dodge an enemy at the right time and you're granted with temporary immunity from attacks along with a slowdown time. The dodge button is so flexible it can be used for other impressive maneuvers like jumping over or sliding underneath victims, or performing a launch attack when you dodge into walls. The melee attacks are what you'd expect from a Spidey game, fast yet devastating. While it doesn't have a substantial amount of combos you can pull off, it boasts enough style to keep you engaged. Basic combos may seem very bare-boned, but when you're stuck in frantic areas surrounded by inanimate objects, you're able to pull off some crazy stunts. Such as in some instances when you're significantly outnumbered, you can take to the air by uppercutting a lackey and hit them with a manhole cover by yanking it with your web. Every move can be performed on the ground or air, so you have a lot to play with. When you're on the brink of death, you can perform a move that's not only satisfying to look at, but downright devastating. The finisher.
Regret your life choices yet?
When you fill up your focus meter, you can use a finisher that instantly KOs low-level victims. Similar to the melee attacks, finishers can also be done on land or air. Choosing to use them on bosses may not instantly KO them, but it adds more moves that are just as effective as they are cinematic. All of the features I've mentioned can be leveled up in the skill tree. Once you earn enough points, you can exchange them for moves that fall into 3 different categories, such as Innovator, a skill tree that mainly centers around being improvisational during sticky situations, the Defender, which is mainly used to hone your offensive skills, and Web Slinger, which is pretty self-explanatory. There are indeed a lot of accessible toys to play with in regards to combat, but the features that really take center stage are the additions of the suit crafting and gadgets. They're nothing short of a Spidey fan's wet dream. After sustaining egregious amounts of damage to his classic costume, Peter decides he wants to take his profession to the next level, so he crafts the advanced suit, a suit that gives Spidey all the tools he needs to get the job done. It grants him a good amount of flexibility while reinforcing him with padded armor in the form of carbon fiber mounted on his chest and arms. Now granted, it's not necessarily the suit that has different specifications since every suit you unlock basically has the same stats. It's the special powers that makes them unique. Each costume features one superpower ranging from attacks to armor. Instead of that power being exclusively accessible to that said suit, it can be swapped out with whatever suit you wear through a mod system. Besides the superpower, you're given 3 additional mods that aid in things like reducing bullet damage, healing you, or shocking your enemy when they attack. There are over 20 different options to choose from, and mixing and matching them will alter your stats. This was an outstanding yet disappointing feature because when you hear the phrase suit crafting, you instantly have a preconceived notion that you're gonna literally craft your own suit. I was expecting something more on the nose, like being able to take actual pieces from different costumes to make my own unique suit, not just switch around the powers. That basically makes the suits nothing more than different skins that serve no real purpose other than aesthetics. And there's also the way in which you unlock them that's frustrating. In order to unlock most of them, you have to progress through the game's story, and to me that takes away from my enjoyment because I might want to use a certain suit during a cutscene for a good laugh. There's one suit in particular that I wanted to use, but it was only available near the tail end of the game, and I don't know if this will be patched in later because I have a review copy, but after completing the game I noticed that there was no New Game Plus option. That essentially means that my constant hour crunching for newer suits was all in vain. I would have enjoyed replaying the game on a harder difficulty with my new toys. But minor ranting aside, we still have our gadgets to add more to the gameplay's fun factor. There's 8 different gadgets that range from taser webs, to bombs that suspend your enemies in midair. Sticking to their tradition, Insomniac allows you to use all of your gadgets on the fly through a weapons wheel, and they can all be upgraded 4 more times. You'll have fun testing out different ways that you can torture your enemies. One of my favorite things to do was use the Spider Bro drone power from the Stark suit and send out a slew of Spider Drone gadgets to completely destroy everyone in the vicinity.
Guys are already breaking. I better stop the entry. Ever hear a knocking? So, you're all going to jail, where I bet you'll be as good at breaking out as you were at breaking in.
These are things Peter is having fun with as he deals with New York's toughest criminals. But like all comic book tales, being a hero has its downsides. The main one being the duality between Peter and his alter ego, Spider-Man. Fighting crime as the web-spangled hero has proved to be a difficult task for him as he struggles with his own personal responsibilities and relationships. Saving lives is all fine and dandy, but it doesn't necessarily keep the lights on.
Are you in trouble? Do you need money?
No, I mean, I'm a little behind on my rent, but no, I'm fine.
Peter's literally at the mercy of his obsession, and unfortunately that obsession collides with his social life. Instead of watching his normal life unfold through strictly cutscenes, you're given the opportunity of controlling Peter as he goes about his daily routines. While some of the missions simply involve walking from point A to point B, others include solving puzzles that implement ideas from games like BioShock's hacking system. As you advance through the story, the puzzles become even more difficult, and this is where things start to become a little stale. During missions where Peter is working on something for his job that shall not be named to avoid possible spoilers, he's tasked with powering certain objects through items called servo control paths. By inserting the servos into the correct spaces, you can give your item the right amount of juice it needs to function. While this minigame is creative, the game goes out of its way to enforce it on you, which becomes predictable as it is intrusive. I wanted to get back into the lively city of New York, but found myself doing these annoying puzzles. There are other minigames you can do, but they're few in number since they service the game's plot during certain missions, which is unfortunate because I found the side mission activities much more creative given how minor the circumstances were. Other features include stealth, in which you'll have to play as Peter's on-again, off-again girlfriend, Mary Jane. She doesn't do what a spider can, but her tame gameplay added some of the most intense senses of urgency throughout the game. Getting spotted while sneaking around a big fortress was simply not an option.
Agent down!
Wait!
There are many other gameplay components that I could go over, but I think it's obvious that Insomniac dumped over the toy chest of ideas from previous Spider games and used what worked. We've seen Spider-Man stylishly web up guards during stealth missions in games like Shattered Dimensions and The Amazing Spider-Man, and jumping from different sides of a vehicle to avoid enemy fire has been around since the early days of Spider-Man 2. Those features were definitely creative back in the day, but they were desperately wanting of invigoration. Thankfully, the journey of different Spider-Man entries has essentially been baptism by fire, because Insomniac has made it their mission to add more substance to those pre-existing features, and they're constantly changing. During car chase sequences, you're given different vehicles to stop before they cause even more chaos. As I mentioned, you have to move on different sides to avoid being shot by the passengers, but once you engage, a crazy cinematic action is performed to remove them from their seats, followed by a heroic shot of Spider-Man halting the vehicle. There are tons of different animations that prevent the missions from ever getting old. After you complete the story, you can take back the city of New York by taking on fortresses and hideouts riddled with thugs, and there are even side bosses. There are a ton of Easter egg references that can be found throughout levels and interactions with New York natives. Insomniac did a great job of adding good fan service while avoiding to throw the player experience under the bus. While I find the suit crafting to be lacking and somewhat false advertising, I still gotta applaud the team on their effort. I was so immersed in this game's story, and I can see why Insomniac stated that it's imperative that I don't spoil some of the more climactic moments during this review. All I gotta say is jaw-dropping moments are on the horizon, so be ready. The writing was so brilliant, it felt like getting a toy out of your favorite cereal box. Something unexpected and fun inside of an already fun and tasty treat. That's why I'm giving Marvel Spider-Man for the PS4 a 9 out of 10.
Coming through.
Looking good, Spidey!
Hello, New York! Ha-ha! New suit, same old me.
If you're someone who loves Spider-Man, then you'd be doing yourself a huge disservice by not buying this game. The same could be said for people who simply want to enjoy a good game that'll keep them occupied for hours on end. I can't stress enough how much love and attention has been put into this project. Hopefully a sequel is soon to follow. But with that, I'd like to conclude this review. What are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to picking this game up? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't matter if it's a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future content. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it on social media outlets with all your friends and followers. And if you want to support the channel directly, consider donating to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. But anyways, this is your boy RBG signing out on another review. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.
Hi, is this the flight to Newark?